It's time for another Dice Tower review with the Chief, Bart Brunsheen.
It's the Chief from the Dice Tower, and at some point in time, guys, we got to come up with some kind of name for ourselves, maybe, or something rather than warmongers or something. I don't know. Just we'll
We are half as much, twice as good. We don't do top 10 lists. We do top 5 lists.
We do top 5.
We've got half as much, but we're twice as good.
We'll figure out the acronym for that, which you'll probably get before I finish my sentence. So today, what we're doing is normally we're going to do war games. 2 very good, they don't claim to be grognards, but salty war gamers. One more thematic, lighter war gamer here. But every once in a while, we're going to come in and we're going to review something that's a little more standard or a little bit different because, one, I think you're going to get some interesting views. You know, war gamers, at least I know these guys and most war gamers I know, they like games. And they come in and they play everything. This guy's, taught me more different kinds of games outside of the war side, and Judd over here, thematic. If you put plastic in it, he wants it. Okay. All right. If you just throw a bunch of plastic down there and tell him it's a game, he's on it. Okay. So, but today we're going to talk about party games, top 5 party games, and I think we're starting with Judd. I may have blown that, but we'll start with Judd.
Okay, first I'm going to make a disclaimer. I had a hard time with this. I went through BGG's top 300 party games. I tried to find 5 that didn't suck.
Oh boy, yeah, and this is of all time.
Yeah, now granted I haven't played most of them, but most of them don't interest me. But the few I did have in there, I'd see like Apples to Apples. Like, man, I gave it like a 3. I hate that game.
I need to get you over at my house more. I do a lot of party game stuff over here, so I'll make sure you're in.
So my number 5 game
Oh, God.
is Bunko.
Oh, I thought you were just going to say dice.
No, the Bunko. The game is played at a party with a lot of people at a lot of tables in groups of 4. You got a teammate. You roll a dice. If you get a 6, I think it's been 20 years since I've played this. You roll this every 6, you get a point. If you blank out, pass the dice. If you roll 3 6s, it's a Bunko. I think it's worth 7, might be worth 10. But it's worth the team that there's like a mad scattering as you fight for the dice. Whoever ends up with 2 of the 3 gets those points. So even though the other guy's rolling, you could get it. Fists are flying. People are grabbing.
They're literally trying to grab the dice.
Yes. I mean, fists are being thrown. Shivs are being pulled out. Police are being called.
Shivs.
They send Bart over. He brings games. He says, why are you wasting your time on that? Bring you some games and you have a friendship. It sounds like a good story.
It sounds like Spoons. Spoons is a good party game.
Yeah. But it's really fun. It's really fun for the madcap.
Hally-gally.
Yes.
So who's ever at the lead table scores 21 points, game's over for everybody. You tally them up. Good. Not much of a game, but it is kind of fun to watch people jump over each other trying to grab dice.
Love it. We'll roll on over.
Okay. My number 5 game is one of the ones that Judd said he really, really hates. It's Apples to Apples. I like it as a party game because there is a lot of participation. Mm-hmm. When you play it with when everybody's aware of the rule. I've played with groups that don't know the rule, but when you play it correctly with the rule that the last person to put a word in can't participate in that round, you end up with, it goes quick. Once you get the people where they turn the cards over and read the answer and pick one, it can go quickly. Yeah, it can go painfully slow sometime when somebody wants to read, slow roll every card.
Now I'll say
they see the internal humor.
See, I usually don't. I usually don't use that rule, but I do know what you're talking about. I usually just kind of cajole them into going.
I don't game with a cajoling group.
You don't cajole. He's not a cajoler.
No, but yeah, you get a lot of participation, and the game goes quickly, which is another overall good thing with party games.
Yeah, and. This game's hit so much mainstream Walmart, Target that I've had people even reference it when I'm saying I'm having a game night over at my house, and they'll say, "Oh, like Apples to Apples."
Oh, I'm sorry.
So
right.
No, you're all right, Judd. You're a hater.
You can't help it.
Yeah, you're a hater.
I hate, therefore I am.
That's right. Mine is Rampage. I've got them slightly out of order here. Rampage just came out, but here's what it does for me. One, we just had a get together. It's so physical. Even the building of it. The dropping of the monster onto the buildings and the blowing. You put your chin on the monster and you can blow meeples around, blow buildings down. You can pick a vehicle up that's just a block, put it on the monster's head and flick it. When you're moving, you're flicking a token. When I put this out, it draws people in. What I'll usually do is when I'm having a lighter game, maybe we're going to have Werewolf later in the night, people are coming over, they're bringing wine, we've got cheese out. I have Rampage out and set up. I did this over the holidays, and I even bought several extra copies and gave out as gifts just because of the physicality of it. And it does that drawing in. And then when people see someone's chin on top of their monster and they're blowing and they don't do anything, and there's the mocking and the fun, and I even think, even though it's not plastic, I think you would love this maybe.
I got on a lot of my ratings on the Geek, whenever I'm trashing a Euro, I'll say something like, well, if you threw a couple of dinosaurs in this game, it'd probably be pretty good. That might test my theory out right there, because dinosaurs make everything better.
So it's brand new and it's hitting my top of all time. It's different and it's fresh, and almost nobody's seen it, especially when I'm bringing over a lighter crowd. Right. So there's my number 5. We're moving on to number 4.
Number 4, I'm cheating. Like I said, I'm desperate. Scrabble is not really a party game per se. But my sister
we throw the tiles in the middle of the table and then we grab one. Oh, I got an E.
Hey, my sister has Scrabble.
It's a battle.
My sister has officially sanctioned Scrabble tournaments at her place. So I'm going to go off of that and say, if you can have a tournament, it's close enough.
I want to be at Judd's parties.
I'm not putting Scrabble on there. I hate that game with the heat of 1,000 suns. If my sister's watching this, she knows I hate that game.
So why did you bring it up?
Because if you can play Scrabble at a party, you can play Byword at a party. I'm cheating. I don't care. I have a hard time making this list. Byword by, what's his name? Sid Jackson?
Oh,
he's a famous guy.
Sid Saxon.
Sid Saxon. Famous guy, so I've heard. I've never heard of him until I got this game. Pretty clever game. Why is it better than Scrabble? Because you don't have to memorize Q words that don't have a U in them, or XI, or whoever's memorized these weird things from the dictionary. Each tile has a pip number on it, and there's money involved in this. You count out the pips, square it, and you have to pay that much to buy those tiles. If you turn around and sell it, you sell it for the same thing, add up the pips and square it. So you don't make any money. The way you do it, you buy 5 tiles, you make a word that's 8 tiles long. So there's mathematics involved in it. That appeals to the engineer nerd geek in me.
Yeah,
so so if you can you don't have to master 3-letter words. You have to be pretty competent. And the other thing is that when that Z and Q and X pops out there in your draw, you don't have to buy them. You're only on the hook for what you think you can work with.
Scrabble's for writers and Byword for engineers.
Yes. So if you can have a Scrabble tournament, you can have a Byword tournament. I haven't seen one, but if there was, I'd much rather go to it than a Scrabble tournament.
I think Judd's list is going to be very entertaining.
I'm just trying to figure out, because does that mean that ASL, which has tournaments all the time, that ASL is a party game?
Hey, I'd take it. I never played it, but I'd take it.
My number 4 game is Bang, and it's Bang in both configurations. Bang, the original card game, and for those of you who don't know, Bang, the dice game.
Yes.
I've heard this described, and correctly, this is the way Bang, the card game, should have been made.
Yes.
Because, Bang in general, somebody's the sheriff, somebody's the bad guy, somebody's the deputy. I've got a card, I'm trying to shoot somebody, I'm drinking beer to get better. Mm-hmm. That's something, it's a concept that everybody can identify with, everybody can understand. Bang, the dice game makes it even that much quicker because you don't have the things, you don't have the concerns about you can only shoot at the people next to you. You can only shoot, I've got a fistful of cards, but I can only play 1 Bang card at a time. You roll the dice, you get to use all of your dice.
Here.
So to me, it handles up to 8 people, and that was my criteria for a party game.
This almost made my list. And there's a beautiful story on this. I have Bang the card game. I played it a few times, and then it got kind of gamey, or sometimes it would run long, or
Right.
and it just kind of lost its appeal. If I pulled it out, people as a filler would be like, it's not really even a filler because it can go so long.
Right.
I show up at BGG. This is why you need to start coming to some conventions, especially the ones that are only 6 hours away. All right. I show up at BGG. I brought in a buddy of mine, a cop that I work with. It's his first BGG con. We literally stroll in. I think we're checking in. Greg sees me, says, "Hey, we got a buddy here. We're in. Come into the lounge." We get our bags checked. We come down, and his friend, what's his name? Let's give him credit. Andy is teaching Bang the dice game. And at first I'm like, it's Bang. And he goes, no, it's different. It's got these arrows. It's a mechanic that ends the game. It's like, it just speeds it all up. We start playing. We played, 3 games?
I think it was 5.
5, yeah. And it was a blast. And, we're drinking the beer and throwing the dice. It was awesome. My buddy went and bought it. I think he might even bought it out of the expo hall. So, and I play his now. So awesome choice.
Right.
Woo.
That's interesting. I have a friend who's not really a hardcore gamer. Went to a party, played Bang, told me it's the worst thing he'd ever played, and all this. It's analysis paralysis at its worst.
He would like this.
So yeah, that'd be interesting.
Or she.
Yeah.
That turned me completely off of ever wanting to play Bang when I got that word from somebody who's not even a hardcore gamer.
Yeah, they would like this.
Okay.
I'm telling you, the Bang the Dice game, I think is going to be a huge hit for them if it already isn't. And I messed up our order earlier, so I should put you in charge of our order. Tumbling dice. All right, tumbling dice. I'm going to show it just because it's easier than explaining it. Sorry. All right, this box is beat up because we use it all the time. All right, it's a flicking game. You've got leveled tiers, and the very first tier you land on is the face value of the die, whatever the pips are, times 0, and then you get down to 1, 2, 3, and then these little tiny little piers that are sticking out are times 4. And you take turns. Sorry, so don't kill anybody. You take turns, so I'll flick one, the next guy will flick his. So there's an offensive defensive capability where you're trying to get the other guy's dice completely off the board, or ruin that 6 that's on the tier 4 and knock it off, and it just gets people cheering.
Right.
Actually, before Rampage came along this year, I would have tumbling dice set up for the exact same reason. People are gathered around it. It's fast. You're
Throw a few
flicking.
dice. Yep.
Yeah. The only problem that I have with it is the dice start flying all over the place. But heck, I had meeples going airborne.
I don't know about Rampage, but on tumbling dice, if you just got a few minutes, let's play to 50.
Yeah.
If you got time, let's play to 100.
Yeah, Rampage takes a little longer. That's probably where tumbling dice is the winner on that. And it draws people in. It's easy for kids if we have an event where kids are coming along. So tumbling dice is my number 4. And I messed the order up, so let's start with you on this.
Number 3?
Yes, number 3.
We're down to number 3?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, my number 3 party game is Time's Up Title Recall. Time's Up, it's a party game. You play in teams. We've had parties that can handle more than 8. And, this works in 3 rounds. The first round, it's a trivia game, but it's not just the give the answer. It starts off like your password, where you're trying to give as many clues as you want. This is a person who stars in this movie and is such and such. Oh, that's Elizabeth Taylor. You do that. It's a timed round so that you end up with a bunch of cards that have the right answer given for them. In the second round, you're giving 1-word clues. So if your thing was Elizabeth Taylor, the 1-word clue would be Cleopatra. Mm-hmm. You know from the first round that Elizabeth Taylor is one of the cards that got picked, but you still have to make the mental connection. Oh, Cleopatra, that's this card. Mm-hmm. You go until all of the cards get claimed. Then the third round is charades. You act it out. I don't know how you would act out to make someone get Elizabeth Taylor. You're right. It might
Cleopatra,
be start with this, things like that. But you're doing charades until all of the cards get picked. So a lot of it is remembering that this is the card that appeared in the first round and it's in the second round. We still have that clue, but this game, it's longish. It's longer than the average party game. Mm-hmm. I would say it's at least an hour, but the people I've played it with Always like it. It's always fun. And Title Recall there's a time's up game. Title Recall, I think, is better. The basic game has people, and it can be anybody from anywhere. You can have a movie star and a scientist.
Tolstoy.
Yeah. This provides a little more focus. It's always the title of a book or a movie or a TV show or something. So it provides more focus so people know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's my number 3 party game.
You did not know this. This is my number 3 as well. So my number 3 as well. One thing I've done to shorten it is sometimes I'll cull some of the cards out of there.
Right.
If I'm shorting it, or the very first time we play it, I may shorten the deck just so we zip through it. The other thing I like to do with this, now this game, my wife likes it, but she's not great in the first round because she comes from Puerto Rico. English is her second language. She misses some of the pop culture references, but she's very good at picking up on those tips from the prior game. And when we're teammates, from the prior rounds, when we're teammates, we also know that we immediately start working in, whatever our...
Something physical.
Yes. A hat means, whatever.
Right.
So the other thing I love to do with this is when I get couples together, I'll blow up the couples and not let them be with their spouse. And we'll do a random thing. And it really encourages the meeting and the knowing because you're really dialed in with your partner. It reminds me of the old TV show Pyramid where they had to give the clues and they were flipping them around and they were really locked in. So time's up, Title Recall. Now see, we both had this on our 3rd. You've never even played this, have you?
Nope.
You need to get out. All right, you need to start partying. Okay,
you need to go to conventions.
Yes,
you need to party.
Yes, you need to party, and I'm afraid of what's on the rest of Judd's list. So let's go to Judd.
Okay. Could be almost any
game I have, I promise you've never heard of. It might be a case of you saying I don't like to bring my work home with me.
Okay.
It's called Mugshots. It's from 1974.
Wow, I've heard of this actually.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
The premise of the game is you see a face, and then there are transparencies with eyes, nose, mouth, chin, hair, and you have to recreate it from memory. Mm-hmm. Now I've actually played this at a party. I brought it and showed them how to play it.
How many people were at the party?
Probably
more than 3?
Yeah, probably about 10.
Okay, good.
Yes. Were there children there?
No, it was pre-children.
Sorry.
Okay. No, my kids would own me in this game.
Yes.
No, but what we did is the way you keep from mixing them up is there's noses for side A and noses for side B, so you don't mix up, know. But what we would do is instead of this side gets A, this side gets B, we house ruled it, and you had 2 at a time, one from the A and the B. Bam, you look at both of them, and you get like 10 seconds to look at them. You can shorten the time up. You can make this thing crazy. It's real easy to house rule, but we had quite the blast playing it. So it's much more fun than the memory tile flipping game. Takes a lot less time.
What year did this come out?
1974.
Yes. There's some. Yes. I'll just leave it at that. All right.
Number 2.
Number 2. So we'll switch over to me, I believe, on that deal. We are at Telestrations. I love Telestrations. Now, I know someone at this table does not usually like this game at all and will bail.
That's one of the few games I will not play.
Yes. Now, here's basically Telestrations is the whisper game with Pictionary. Everybody has a little flip chart, dry erase, and you get, let's just say you get a Dalmatian as your subject. I have to draw the Dalmatian. So maybe I draw a dog with a fire truck to try to show that. But I draw horribly, and it's mostly stick figure. So when I finish my drawing, I pass, I flip it over, and I pass it to the next person, and all the pads are passing. So everybody's always doing the same thing. Judd would just look at my picture, and he has to guess what it is. Now, there's a scoring game element here. I don't ever do that. All I do is see, there's an eye roll here. And to me, it's a blast. And the first time I played this, and I'll get back to explaining it, we were at the Tornado Alley convention, and I just see
that's our local convention.
Our local convention.
We have it one time we think we've had about
April. 200,
but it's between 100 and 200 people show up for one day of gaming.
Yeah, and there's this table erupting in laughter. I mean, they're crying, and I'm like, wow, I'm at the wrong table. And that was how I got interested in this, because he sees my Dalmatian and he somehow thinks instead of a fire dog, a Dalmatian with a fire truck, he thinks it's a donkey cart. Okay. And so he writes his guess down donkey cart, and it goes to the next person. They're trying to draw a donkey cart. So that's the
And it looks like a Dalmatian.
Yeah. Yeah. Mine never looks like a Dalmatian. So, it just goes around, and then the big thing for me is the reveal, and you kind of go through. I'll have my deal, and I'll say what.
See, that's the thing. I mean, the game, the game of doing it this way is after you've spent all the time writing these things and drawing these things. The only part of possible enjoyment that I see is going back through and go, see, this person drew that. He was a real idiot. And this person put this word, and he didn't know what he was talking about. And these people, oh yeah, it's 12 people that don't know what they're talking about. Let's do it again. Hey, these 12 people don't know either.
I've seen it primarily used in two ways. One, I use it when my wife we had the whole office party over at our house, and they weren't going to touch any game. They knew about me and board games, but you could just tell they didn't even know what to do. My wife kind of, hey, you guys got to try this. And by the end of it, they were actually open to, we should try some other game next time. But, it was time for everybody to go. And they enjoyed that level of it. You're right. There's a lot of, I'm a horrible drawer. When I'm there, I really mock that and have fun with it. I like that aspect of it, and I've seen it called a cleansing. I've seen people finish playing the Resistance, and there's all that hate and animosity going back and forth, and then they'll play Telestrations just to laugh and cleanse.
Wow.
Greg, you don't like cleansings?
I never felt the need for gaming cleansing.
Clean yourself in a volcano.
You come play with me, you may need
Maybe
some cleansing.
Maybe so. But I'm excited to see what number 3 is over here.
Maybe Judd can top this. What do you got there, brother?
It's my turn?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, is it your? That was your 3. Right?
Yeah, that was my 3.
You're up, Judd.
Yeah,
I am up?
I think you're up because you've only done 2, right?
No, I've done 3. My dice.
Oh, yeah.
Who could forget
Okay.
Rico?
All right.
Okay, so we're down to number 2.
There we go. Number 2, sorry.
Number 2 for me is Wits and Wagers. It's another trivia type game, but it's not as important. It's the thing that makes it different. It's not as important to know that you know the answer. You have to know what somebody else says is the answer. This is a game, if you haven't seen it, all of the questions are number based. What's the diameter of the earth? When was the first Batman comic book? How many elements are there in the periodic table? They're all numbers. All of the people, and we play in teams, all of the people write down their number, and then they put them down in order, and you get to bet your token on which answer you think, it's like Price is Right, is closest without going over. So, if the first Superman comic book and somebody puts 1937, 1938, 1939, 1938 wins, it's the closest without going over. The betting is very simple. If you bet a chip, you get a chip back. That's what the party version does. The full version, the original version, you've got betting odds and things, but this makes it much cleaner for non-gamers. And this one, a round is only 7 questions, so it goes very quickly. And I almost never play it where when we finish a game, somebody says, let's play again, because it goes that quickly. So that's my number 2 party game.
Very accessible. Yeah, and sorry, Telestrations was my number 2 as well. So
Okay,
we're on
number
number
two.
2, Judd.
Okay, I'll introduce this one. I've been told, I read an email a long time ago,
Oh my
you might have
gosh.
seen this, that most people have conversations to feel connected with society and to learn things. Engineers have 3 purposes in conversation: to get out of it as quickly as possible, to not commit to anything, and to show a mastery of all topics. So with that in mind, here's my number 2. Trivial Pursuit 20th anniversary. Why the 20th anniversary? Because I hate the original.
Really?
I hate because You get all your pieces, you finally struggled and you got that literature piece, and now you're going to the middle and they're going to pick you another literature.
So literature is the problem for you, basically.
Yes, and I don't much care for the ones that ask the Hollywood questions either.
Okay.
So, and I get on the sports and they're going to ask me an alcoholic drink. That drives me crazy. So, but it's just painful once you run through and you manage to get them.
Sports and leisure.
Yeah.
Yes.
I thought this was some comment on
Yes.
modern day professional sports,
Yeah.
but
No, so you get everybody gets your pieces and they go to the middle, and it's just turns painful waiting for somebody to just get the thing over with. This one, the questions are from the last 20 years, so you don't have to know who won the Academy Award in 1938 or whatever. It's a lot easier. I actually played one time that was the 1980s version. It's pretty easy because you get a president. 80% chance it's Reagan. This is a little better because it's 20. You get something better, but it's all recent enough, and then you can show your mastery of all things trivial.
All right.
So
see, and my problem with that is people won't play that with me. Because one time, my Trivial Pursuit story, back when it was very popular, is we were on a 12-hour bus ride out to Colorado, and I played against the bus.
We got a genius.
I've done that. I've taken on an entire group at a party.
And won.
Wow.
We're up to number 1.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm still shocked that you played the bus.
Yeah, yeah. I would read, and then actually they would get their question wrong. Somebody was reading, and I would answer my question, and then I would read their question, and they would get it wrong, and then I'd say, oh, but the actual answer was this. So
This is why
those were the good old days.
I get a little intimidated when I teach him a game he hasn't played. Just a bit. I'm telling you. Just a bit.
Just a bit.
Just throwing it out.
My number 1 game is Catchphrase. This is the electronic version. I think it still comes out in a card version, but this is a game when you, it's like a password game. When it starts, a word will come up here. You've got to try and get your teammates to say the word, giving any clues possible. Once again, you could say, this is the actress. She was in Giant. She was in Cleopatra. She was married to Richard Burton. Oh, that's Elizabeth Taylor. Then you pass it to the next person. The whole time this is going on, this thing is beeping faster and faster and faster, and then it'll finally go, and whoever has it in their hand loses a point. So this is a game where you're trying to be the team that doesn't lose.
Okay.
But again, the reason, it's got the noise, it's got the cards, you can pick different categories, they're different depending on which version of the game you get, but it keeps everybody involved. Again, a game is 7 points, you're ready to go again pretty quickly. So this is my number 1 party game. Catchphrase.
My number 1 is Werewolf, which I'll explain in a second. Most people know it, but it might get bounced out. I'm just going to throw this out. 2 rooms and a boom. I haven't had a chance to play, but I'm hearing great things about it. When I get information on that, I'll let you know. The Werewolf is a group deduction game. There's several people. You're sitting around in a circle generally. There's going to be several folks that have villager cards, and a few of the people are going to have werewolf cards. And the goal is for the werewolves to eat the villagers and win the game. They're fewer in number, and there's this whole mode where you go into the night and the werewolves get to open their eyes and identify who each other are, and so they know if us 3 are the werewolves. You probably never even heard of this game.
I've heard of it.
Oh, okay.
Never played.
If us 3 are the werewolves, we make eye contact, and we're going to be, each round that goes into the night, we're going to be picking some villager that we're going to eat or kill. And then it becomes daylight, and the whole group, not knowing who the werewolves are engaged in banter and trying to figure out who the werewolves are. It starts with very limited information, and based on the people that are getting eaten, it slowly starts to be that deduction game. You can throw in a lot of roles. The seer's the standard one. In the night, she can close her eyes and point at someone and get a thumbs up, thumbs down if they're a werewolf. But it works really well. It gets everybody engaged, and I love that as a very group party game.
It gets people engaged. I had it on one of the ones that I rejected. The main reason for rejecting it is because it does have the elimination factor to
Yes.
it. Once a werewolf, once a character gets killed, that person is out of the game. Now, most of the time, they're enjoying it enough that they will stay, watch, see what happens to find out who the werewolf is, but they're not actually participating the whole time. But this is one, when we have our convention in Richmond, Indiana, JerkCon is in February. It's 6 months out from WBC. Of all of the game conventions in Richmond, Indiana, over President's Day weekend, it's one of the best. But we have a 40-person werewolf game.
Wow.
And it is, and we have more than one. I mean, we finish one and we start another one. So werewolf is definitely a good party game. Like I said, the only downside is the diminishing participation as people get eliminated.
I agree. And for the number one, which is probably going to blow all of ours away.
I'm excited.
Let's see what Judd's got to offer.
This is for all of those people out there who are the masters of the domain. Oh my God. Seinfeld.
Now, I do love Seinfeld.
Seinfeld trivia. My take on trivia games is trivia games are only as fun as your knowledge of the topic. The Avalon Hill, I don't know if you ever played that thing. It's painful. Sitting around 4 hours trying to wait for somebody to get 5 questions right. It's hard. So if you like Seinfeld, this is awesome. If you hate Seinfeld, you're going to hate it. It might be a little difficult to party find that many people that enjoy it, but if you do, it's great. It is your typical trivia game. You're answering questions from the show, but it has lots of fun stuff in it. You got caught with marble rye, lose a turn. You have to have a soup race in this thing. You get on there and you challenge the person who has the soup marker, and it's just roll the dice. You go out there and roll. Whoever gets to the end first wins the soup. Your idea is to have a token from each apartment and to have the soup, and you win.
Are you master of your own domain?
I am.
Okay. All right, guys, there we go. So here's some more gamers talking about party games. Some of us need to get out a little bit more, and that's it.
And the acronym, we are half as much, we are twice as good. We do top 5 lists. And so we are HAMTAG, half as much, twice as good.
See, his mind can do all kinds of things. See you guys later, Chief and Vance and Schmidtkins. Bye.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.